Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a sunny and warming Winterberg in Germany. It's Viessmann World Cup number 5 for the 4-man bobsleigh competition. Sunday is always 4-man day, but for these athletes, it's the second race of the weekend. Hello, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me in the booth is bobsleigh legend John Morgan. And John, 2-man on Friday, 4-man on Saturday, 4-man again on Sunday. Takes a toll on the bodies. How do you think they're going to respond?
Well, at least the sun's out and the weather is cooperating compared to the last 3 days where it was pouring rain. This track, famous, up in Sauerland, north of Frankfurt. Short 1,300-meter track. Vertical drop's pretty steep, but not till you get halfway down the course. But the weather influences the competitions here. Look at the POV was shot. Look how shiny the ice is. That's because it was raining and fogged for 10 days. Chink right here, this first curve. They installed that 7 years ago. Boy, does that provide a different personality to the track, and it challenges the 4-man athletes to get in and get down before that curve. Look how quiet and slow it is here. You're going uphill, so you can't make any mistakes. You can't steer here. You have to be perfectly straight. The first real test out of this curve 4 into 5 now. Still gaining momentum. 6 perfect needs into Kreisel. 270-degree whip around. You exit below where you came in the curve. Slingshot effect to the bottom. 8, 9. This is the pivotal part of the track. This is where the U.S. team sleds, including Steve Holcomb, crashed yesterday. Big challenge for them today. Curve 10, 80 miles an hour, 11, 12, 13, three-quarter combination called the Labyrinth into the finish. Exit coming in uphill here. Still lose time all the way to the finish curve right there. Boy, this track has been challenging.
Well, Andrea Lange, the great German, the track record holder, but the start record was blown away yesterday. That dated back to the same day in 2008 when Lange and his crew set the start. It was blown out of the water by Oskars Melbardis of Latvia, who starts 9 in our start draw. And yesterday, Francesco Friedrich, the first man off the hill in the medals for Germany, along with his teammate Max Arndt. So we're going to see whether the winner from last year's race, Alexander Zubkov of Russia, can go 2 steps better than the 3rd place he finished yesterday. Well, for these 4-man crews, there's been a couple of personnel changes. We've also lost David Kupczyk and the Polish team. They raced yesterday. They're not racing today. Max Arndt, yesterday's race winner.
Well, the Polish are out, 24 teams, only 20 will go through. There's John Jackson, he's on a trampoline. He's the guy recovering from the Achilles injury. Boy, there's a guy with some pressure on him from Holland.
Yeah, that's not
Edwin
physical,
Van Cocker.
that's mental.
He got a lot of pressure on him today to produce on a track they consider home for the Netherlands.
Well, 2 of our potential winners go off 1 and 2. Francesco Friedrich, silver medalist yesterday. Oskars Melbardis has been in the bronze medal position the last 2 straight years. Didn't feature on the podium yesterday. 24 sleds, and only 20 go through into the second heat, so there is still pressure. Lots of noise at the top of the track to welcome 2-man world champion and junior 4-man world champion from Germany, Francesco Friedrich, with Janis Becker, Gregor Birnbach and Torsten Margis. They took silver yesterday.
Look at those push bars. Real different push bars we've seen from the Germans here on this sled. I think they're on the Florschut sled also. 63.6 kilometers. That is the telltale sign you want to use to find out not only their start, but their velocity as the 4 athletes enter the sled and negotiate that first curve.
Well, he had 2 good runs yesterday. Got to keep this big 4-man neat and tidy. When it breaks away, it really costs you time.
Keep track of the speeds. He's the first man down. It's hard to get these 4-mans into a skid, but when they get into a skid, they really have a mind of their own. Like right there, oh, that's not good. Between 9 and 10. I call that the graveyard section of the track for your time. 134.5, 83.5 miles an hour, 55.05, off the track record by a half a second.
Its top speed is better than he produced in either of the heats yesterday. The 55.05 would have kept him right in contention throughout yesterday's race. That's a good opening foray from young Francesco Friedrich.
Here's exit of curve 9. Won't be the last person we see with a little air. In fact, that was pretty good. Here he made his mistake, though, on the exit of 9 into 10. Tries to creep over onto 10. Look at the skid. Now he's got to go into 10. It's really steered. Christoph Long, and he knows that cost at least 10-15 hundredths of a second.
We talk about
German pilot.
Sorry, John. Talk about consistency. His first run yesterday, 55.05, same time. Well, what about Oscar's Melbardis? Yesterday, off the medals, despite starting strongly. Both of the Latvian teams, first and second away from the start, struggled to even make the top 10.
Well, track, there's perfect conditions here at the start. 5:10. I don't know if we're going to see that. We might see 5:2, 5:3 from these 4 huge men. Remember, they're competing 3 days in a row. Two of the four of these athletes, 5:05, speed in the left, 63.7, 63.6. So the Latvians start faster than the Germans, but the Germans have equals velocity. That's all about the teamwork, getting in that sled with precision.
Well, Francesco Frugic, the race leader, only 22. Oscar Melbardis, 23. This is the new young generation, John Morgan. These guys could be around for another decade.
At least. This is not good lines at all by Melbardis. Very similar to yesterday. Real sloppy with his lines. He's over.
Oh, my word. 2 sleds in. You can still see the gouges in the track from earlier crashes.
Sled comes back up. That's the norm. Unbelievable. He was sloppy all the way down. I wonder if he's got the same runners on as yesterday. He was, if you look at his whole run, exits of all the curves, he had skids going. He had no control of this sled any place down that track.
That's not great news at all for him, is it?
Well, he's the first non-American to crash there. 9, high there, back up on the outlet. Watch this. Boy, he just came up too late. His mistake was made up in 7 and 8. You make your mistake 150, 200 yards up. Look at this nose come down. Now it's got to come back up. He just had no control.
Well, John, yesterday he finished in 6th position at the end of the race, and he was obviously looking to try and improve on that. And you've got to just hang the sled out here.
Well, I don't know, because he had no control.
Yeah.
These 4-mans, they go pretty straight. And he might have some runners with no control, no bite, because he had no control of that sled from the time he got in it to the time he crashed.
Well, it's now very unlikely that they will even make the second cut. You can see Francesco Frugic helping there.
They still have a chance. They still have a chance of making the second cut.
Well, it's not all over, but
look at the
seconds.
Thrill of victory and the agony of defeat right there.
1.3 seconds back, they might make the top 20. Slight track hold while everybody is safely assessed. Lots of fervent Bob fans, not all from this locale either.
They're trying to get some medical doctor, at least to examine Melbardis. They have to do that. That was the doctor, the German doctor on the left in the yellow jacket. He's right here checking him out. Concussions, I mean, this is it. He was bummed out in the 2-man race the first day, so he'll be happy to see Winterberg, Germany in his rear view mirror.
Yeah.
And he won the Olympic test in Sochi last year, the 2-man World Cup test event. Now this is where they're going to check the gouges.
Yep.
They have to do an inspection. There's the ice meisters.
What he's holding is a little shaver. It's articulated on the end of the pole, and they run them vertically up and down like a cheese slice, just shaving away any highlights or imperfections in the track. And they have a bucket of icy slush there as well, John, like a bucket of plaster that they'll just put into the holes and it'll almost freeze on contact.
Communication back and forth here. Stefan, the track manager, communicating with his crew. Looks like they're going to clear the track here coming up real shortly.
They're getting the 30-second warning at the top of the track.
Second sled down. We got some action.
Well, you know, it just re-establishes the ground rules. This is a track that lots of learners come to have their first runs on. But when you're really pushing for every 100th of a second,
look at him.
Ice can be dangerous for anybody, no matter how experienced.
That is one large human being right there, too, Oscar Melbardas. It's an NFL linebacker.
Here we go then, Alexander Kazyanov of Russia, the third of our sleds, Filip Egorov, Max Belugin, and Maxim Makrusov. This is the crew that came down behind Kazyanov yesterday. Disappointing run for him. He was only the third of the Russian sleds, 11th place finish.
And the American and Russians are challenging each other for the third country status, getting 3 sleds in the competition. The Americans had a solid lead coming out of North America, but with both American sleds, 2 of the 3 crashing yesterday, the Russians are now in front of the U.S. in the 4-man aspect.
And it's this guy, the third Russian, whose fate hangs in the balance.
No, he's not the third Russian. Kazyanov, no, the other guy is
Oh, well, he was better yesterday.
No, the other guy was better, but he's ranked number 2. He's ranked 5 in World Cup points. Zakharov is the third Russian.
Correct.
63.2, not very good speed at all. Almost a half kilometer down, 0.4 of a kilometer down to the German and Latvian sleds. But this is a good driver who did not drive well yesterday. This guy was tied for the lead in Park City at the end of the first heat. Medaled there at Park City, 5th in World Cup points. He's been living in the shadow of Zubkov. Tapped there. 101 kilometers, and he's not very solid through that curve 9. Boy.
A little vague and a little slow as well.
Way off the pace.
Have to wonder what it does to your mental game when you're standing out there at the top for 2 or 3 extra minutes, knowing somebody else has just parked it hard.
That's a long 4100s is a long ways away from the top sled.
Again, only an 11th place result yesterday, 6,500s off the lead after 2 runs.
Yeah, this has not been a good weekend for the World Cup number 5 ranked athlete, 4-man bobsled. Look at this. This is, you don't do that with a 4-man sled. This curve 9 is taking the best drivers in the world and putting them back in the first days they ever drove a sled, because no one is coming through there clean all day, and it was tough in the women's program, in the women's race this morning.
Race winner on this track yesterday, Maximilian Arndt of Germany, with Marco Hubenbecker, Alexander Rödinger, and Martin Putzer behind him. Can Arndt make it double gold this weekend for Germany? Just seen Sandra Kyriasis win against the head in the women's race. Take another gold on what was probably her final ever drive here on a home ice in Winterberg.
Rödinger and Putzer, veterans of Andre Lange's Olympic gold medal team in 2010. Putz is one of the veterans of the German team. He's been around 2006. He's got 2 gold medals in 6 and 10. And now the start, 63.4. That's better than the Russian sled we just saw. Not as good as the Latvian or his German teammate Friedrich, but this guy has got the best eyes and hands in 4-man bobsledding, and he's on a German track. So that +7, I bet you, is probably going to get to +2 or 3 the next clock. +4. Here it comes. 96.1. And this is where he gets that sled pointed. Perfect exit. Watch him here to 9. A little tap there, not bad. Big speed. When he comes through there, no problems through 9. That's the best line in 9. Now through 10, he's taking the lead as expected. Speed 134.5, 83.5, similar to his teammate. But he comes in 300ths better than his teammate, even though his teammate beat him by 500ths at the start. But he really came through 9-10. He carved himself through there. Maybe too much spearing, because it seemed he had way better speed at the halfway point than his teammate. Look at the hands come in. This is like choreography. Bang. Down. Before that Adidas sign, everybody settled. Look at that. Here on 13, 14, the violent exit of 13. Bang, the back end, bang. That's norm. Speed in that finish curve for those 4-mans is going to be a telltale sign. He had the same speed as his teammate. They're separated by just 0.03 of a second.
1,500 slower than his first run yesterday, with less speed though for Arndt. That leaves the door open for this man. Steve Holcomb, World Cup points leader, unbeaten in North America, crashed in the second heat yesterday, going for gold. What can the night train do today?
This is an awesome 4-man team. these guys really have great respect for each other. Start time 5:07. Speed 63.6. That's the same as the Latvians. Same as Friedrich, who had a slower start considerably, but they had a great start speed up to 9. He needs to get that up to 12 or 15 because Arndt really knows this bottom part of the track. Little tap there, could have cost him. He crashed yesterday. Now it's down to 1. He's already lost all that time back. That tap up there. This is the nemesis part right here.
This is a track he feels really all at sea on. He knows it, but he can't get the feel he wants from the runners.
Much safer line than yesterday, but this isn't the run he needs. He's way back. Way back.
Well, John Morgan, if he gets down without a crash today, that's going to be vital. It's vital all 3 US sleds score points.
Yeah, but they're not happy with that. That was not a smooth drive. And Steve Holcomb pretty frustrated. He's got some real issues between the steering and the 2-man BMW sleds and the 4-man Bodine sled. And you can't be inconsistent. Holcomb has so much pressure on him. There's that tap that really cost him a lot of time. Here down at 13-14, speed was already gone. But one more heat. Look, one more heat, Steve. He just wants to get out of here and move on.
0.4 of a second slower than his first run yesterday. Today is about consolidating. It's laying up. It's not going for the pin. Max Arndt of Germany, our race leader. Well, here is the third of our German sleds. We had 2 German sleds on the podium yesterday. Thomas Florschut's former winner on this track, and he has got a great chance today. Josh Bloom joins 39-year-old Kevin Kuska, had his birthday yesterday, and Christian Poser in the sled. Florschut's won 2- and 4-man here 2 years ago.
Florschut's looking to rebound from a non-podium finish yesterday. Non-podium in the 2-man, and this is the guy who finished the silver medal in 2-man in Vancouver. It was the German #1 pilot after Andre Lange retired, but this young 21-year-old Francisco Friedrich has emerged, and he's in Germany 3.
Thomas Florschut's beaten out of making a German clean sweep by 0.03 of a second by Alexander Zubkov. He's gone behind Arndt already. He's behind Friedrich too.
Yeah, but he's still got some good lines here. This will put the Germans 1, 2, 3 by the time he gets to the bottom, if not better. Speed, he didn't have the speed Arndt had. He hit 102 kilometers there, 60 miles an hour. Now on the bottom, 133.4 is good speed, not as good as his teammates. Top 3 though.
Christoph Langen's reaction there. He's in 3rd place ahead of Holcomb, but their big threat still to come, really. They'll recognize as Alexander Zubkov for a German clean sweep of the podium. The Germans, John Morgan, need to consolidate and really start scoring strongly here in Europe on their more favored tracks.
Look at the start. Look at the feet coming down together. Look at this. You think the Germans got that figured out? About, I mean, anybody involved with motion analysis, you know, do you want the feet coming down together or separate? What provides you the more of a spring? Look at those Germans get in that sled and get down. You talk about efficiencies.
And
wow.
they ran it so long, and yet they got in like
so
feathers. Quick. So here we go, Justin Cripps of Canada, first of 3 Canadian sleds today. Tim Randall, James McNaughton, Brian Barnett on the back of the crew that is single-handedly making beards absolutely required wearing for bobsledders.
Barnett, a new addition to the team this year, great track and field athlete. And he's a big boy.
Cripps yesterday, 8th spot.
Canadians also very proficient at the start. Watch how quickly they get in, get down. Boom, down, Ooh, problem though. Oh, man, what happened there? Yesterday they were perfect in both runs and both starts. Cripps, in fact, was a top 5 at the end of the first run yesterday.
Yes, he was.
And then all of a sudden, now it's down. Now he's relegated to being at least probably 3/4 of a second down at the bottom part of this track. Boy, what happened? I was just talking how good they were. Then it's like they pushed too far and the sled came out of the grooves. If I'm a coach up top, I just watch what happened to the Canadians. You might start thinking about taking one last step because those grooves might be melting away.
Well, Florschutz's team ran it so long and they got in clean.
This isn't 32.6 isn't bad considering how they started this run.
Yeah.
6,300's back.
He was only 0.6 back after 2 runs yesterday. He's more than that after 1.
It's long 3 days of racing for these athletes. You know, they train for 1 4-man race and 1 2-man race per weekend.
Yeah.
At the Olympics, it's a little different. Watch the start getting in here. What happens from behind here? What? They must have ran too far. Look at these pictures.
Either that or Cripps just didn't have his hands on the steering. It's not like a steering wheel. You can't steer these with one hand, John. There's 2 separate pulleys. You've got to pull both.
It must be the driver had some problem with the D-rings. No one's happy there in that crowd.
No, Justin Cripps. Plenty to think about for the second heat here. Alexander Zubkov, plenty to think about as well here. Won this race last year. Bronze medal last afternoon. He's been on the podium his last 4 4-man races.
Okay, Zubkov needs to make a statement here. Probably needs a 5:10, 5:12 start, 5:10, 63.6 kilometer speed, 63.6. Now, you talk about a good driver. Well, his nemesis yesterday is he didn't drive well. And coming up right here, watch him come out of this curve. Watch, he's got to be straight here. Ooh, look at the runners. He was fidgeting there. That's going to cost him some speed, down to 100. That's late there. Not the speed of the 2 of the 3 German sleds. Now green to red. Now the question is, he doesn't have 0.3 kilometers down to the top German sled orange. Still can put him in the medals. +8. Speed, 133.2. That's not the German speed. This looks like 4th. 3rd, though. He does get in there.
Gets in front of Florschutz again by 300s. That's how much he beat him out by over 2 heats yesterday. And you wonder what this second race does. Yesterday, that team started 5:10 first heat, 5:6 in the second. Today, they started 5:10 in the first heat. I bet they go quicker again in the second.
Up top, can't make any mistakes. Watch the runner tips. He wasn't comfortable with that entry to the exit of the curve, and now he's trying to salvage without crushing the wall. Here out of 13-14, this is pretty normal. Look at the speed. Look at the helmets. Helmets aren't lined up there after that hit, which is tough to do. But 4th best speed, the German sleds, way more superior to Zubkov. And this is the guy that won the race last year on this track.
Yes, he did. Germany, Germany, Russia, Germany, the top 4. Start draw number 9 for John Jackson of Great Britain. He's got the A team behind him. Bruce Tasker, Craig Pickering, and Joel Fearon. Jackson still recovering from that pre-season Achilles tear. And that's why he was on the trampoline earlier on. It's a way of running to warm up his muscles without damaging the Achilles. Now, they had a really torrid time in the 2-man on Friday. Tough day yesterday in George, their 4-man sled. They need redemption today.
Yeah, they had a rough weekend. 2-man, not so good. 4-man, he better get down there. He does. 19 speed, that's 9th best start, 63 class. The worst start of the first 9 sleds. And this is a team who starts in the top 3 or 4. So, you know, maybe they were just real concerned about getting in before that 0 curve, but you can't let the track dictate to you your strategy. You have to be aggressive. It's a short track.
It's that Achilles injury. Jackson is nowhere near as fast as he was last year. They were among the fastest 2 or 3 teams every start last year.
But
they're
still
struggling to get it back.
Still were top 5 or 6. Oh, this is not good. Not a good line. And he almost went over there. There's a lot of pressure on that down runner.
Holds it together, and again, a late exit. Slowest run we've seen so far, but he's got to score points. 8th place, he's in front of Oscars Melbardis, who started 1400s quicker, but crashed. Jackson shakes his head. He, like Holcomb, is not feeling the vibe from this Winterberg track.
Look at the body language getting out. Everybody's very despondent. This is the sled that finished second in Lake Placid just 3 weeks ago. There's a little psyche going on at the top. And now Jacko is in early, really at the crest of the hill. And the other athletes waiting to get in. Watch this in 9. This is not pretty. Airborne back runner.
And again, Jackson limping as he gets out of the sled.
Yeah, he's going to be limping for a few more months.
A few more weeks, yeah.
Months.
Chris Spring of Canada, top Canadian sled in yesterday's results. 7th, Jesse Lumsden, Cody Sorensen, Ben Coakwell, the team.
Now, I hope I don't jinx these guys, but the Canadians are good at getting in and this sled getting down. The other sled was, look at that, how quick that was. Wow. That's some efficiencies, 5:09, speed 63.6.
How German do they look when they drop in like that?
Well, that's efficiency. That's some great coaching. They have that indoor push facility in Calgary, wind sport facility that is just, has a lot to do with. The Canadians are really good in these sliding sports. Chris Spring, 100th, that's pretty good. Speed, not the best, but this is still a good run. If he can keep it straight here, that's a good exit. Watch him, does he tap? Yeah, a little tap there. Only 11 backs, doesn't have the speed there, a kilometer down. Now he could still fight. He could beat Holcomb. This could be a top 5 on the bottom part of the track. 133 and change. Yeah, there it is. So this should be a 5th place. 5th, 30th. Not bad, not bad, just in front of Holcomb. Holcomb started better, but Holcomb is just looking to get to the bottom. Chris Spring from Canada, 5th place. It's about where he was in the mix yesterday. 3 Canadians were, you know, in the top 10. He looks like his head's really above the cowling there. The 3 good aerodynamics from the team. Big boys back there, too. They're a little bigger with them beards.
Came down 7th place after the first heat yesterday, Chris Spring, and then slipped to 8th in the final reckoning. 10 of our 24 sleds down. Max Arndt leads. Germany's Francesco Friedrich 2nd. Alexander Zubkov is 3rd. That's yesterday's podium. John Morgan, there is Chris Spring.
Back at home, Canada, Australia. I love everyone. Thank you.
The wildest hair in bobsledding, I think you got to say.
Yeah, him and Ben Sanford from the luge, men's skeleton, excuse me.
Yeah.
They got the wild hair there too, so. Good crowd on hand, very educated crowd here. They know the sport. The 2015 World Bobsled Championships will be staged here next February 2015. They've staged it only once before in 1995, and the conditions with snow on the ground were similar to this, but it was raining then for 10 days. Still had 8,000 people here in a couple of the days. They like their bobsledding up here. Yeah, they've had a track here for about 90 years.
It's a real bobsleigh town. This is like Lake Placid, like Koenigsee, like St. Moritz, of course, where bobsledding has been part of their history. Almost every single person in this track, at this track, is younger than the track facility itself, including that man, Arndt Glass, former Dutch slider, now doing a lot of coaching.
There's curve 9 as you look down to the left of him, and the sun's out. I mean, we don't really see the sun here that often.
Don't really see those hills there that often either. It's a day like today, you go, what, there's hills? Oh, yeah.
But the Sauerland region.
Yeah, we're in the Ruhr Valley, just about an hour's drive east of the major industrial heartland regions around Cologne, Frankfurt, Bonn, the capital not too far away. And the weather at least has been kind this Sunday lunchtime to the fans. And of course, when it's not driving with wind and slicing with rain, it feels a little better for the athletes too. Viessmann World Cup number 5 for men's 4-man bobsleigh. At the top of the track, our 11th of 24 starters, Edwin van Kalker, with Bror van der Zijde joining Yannick Greiner and Arno Klaassen on the 4-man team. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action.
Four really good athletes who have underachieved, and now they're on their home track, and he needs something positive. Look at 63-kilometer speed. He told me last night that he'd just been struggling with getting all his team together. His #1 guy, Sibren Jansson, his wife just had a baby on New Year's Eve, is injured, can't be with him. He's just got his other good guy back, which is Bror van der Zijde, but they can't get the whole team together. And he says, my driving's not good, my push times aren't good, and I just struggle across the board.
Well, Bror came into the sport with Ivo de Bruin, who drives the second Dutch 2-man sled. Oh!
Violent, but still decent speed. Should be a top 8. 9, just out of the 8th place by 1/100th of a second. They're happy with that. They're happy with that. I mean, yesterday, he was sideways going into the Kreisel curve, and you don't expect that out of him. You know, he's an accomplished pilot. This is his home track, but he's an athlete right now that, in my view, he's in a slump, and he's got 2 or 3 weeks to get rid of it, work his way out of it, and, you know, not a great line, but we've seen worse, and that forces him to be late down here, and this is a pretty violent collision with that wall that, boy, there's a lot of collisions in that wall over there. The exit of 13 at 83 miles an hour.
Max Arndt, Francesco Fujic, Alexander Zubkov, the top 3 in the first heat. Now Lyndon Rush of Canada, he tied with his teammate Justin Cripps for 8th position yesterday.
He was in 5th at the end of the first round. Was he in the top Canadian? I think he was the top Canadian, or Cripps was.
Yeah, Lyndon Rush came up from 10th place after the first heat.
Can't have any speed here. Yeah, 63.3. It wasn't bad, but looked like a skid in and out of 1. So tricky. Before that curve, it was just a straight shot into that first curve. So now that's why they call it the 0 curve, because they don't want to 1, 2, 3 change everything all the way down. And then that 0 curve has provided this track with a wonderful personality and emphasis on the first 50 meters and the load into the sled.
Yes, it's really piled the pressure on the brakemen to get in even cleaner than before.
This is pretty good. This could be a top 5. Could challenge his teammate, Chris Spring.
A little bit skiddy down the
now
bottom,
it's close,
as we
right
saw
to the 100.
yesterday, 132.4. Spring
5th or
was
6th.
quicker.
5th or 6th. 7th. Wow.
10th behind Chris Spring, and that all drifted away.
A lot of time.
Below the Kreisel, John, it was just getting away from him.
Yeah, but he had decent speed through 9, or into 9, and must be that hit on the exit of 13 took a lot away, because he should have been up near his teammate, Chris Spring. So he lost like 6/800ths there. Look at the start. He's in early, the driver. Look at the #2 man waiting for the #3 guy to nestle in this little tiny bathtub that has to fit 4 huge men, and the arms come up and in. Okay, guys. Oh, the brakeman, see that caused the skid. You see where the brakeman's left arm came over? Look at the back end. That you can't move anything left to right. And boy,
that too. That's
that was
gonna
violent.
suck
That was
a 10th
violent.
out of
That
the
was
sled.
into 13.
Yeah.
That's where he lost his time.
Lyndon's eyes look a little happier with that than he did yesterday. More Russian red, white, and blue for Nikita Zakharov. Now, he is the coming man of Russian bobsledding. At the moment, he is lying 3rd in their World Cup rankings, but he had a good race yesterday.
This is a race within a race. He wants to best all the American sleds. The Russians and Americans are battling for 3 sleds in the Olympic Games, and the Americans had the big-time advantage, but the Russians overcame them yesterday because 2 of the 3 American sleds crashed. So this is a big, big heat for Zakharov. to maintain the Russians' position ahead of the 3 American sleds in total points. That is, the top 3 nations in total points have, in that discipline, have the right to have 3 sleds in the Olympic Games competition.
Well, John, he was only 17th after the 3rd heat yesterday. First heat with a real throwaway run. He improved with a 6th fastest run in the 2nd heat to get a top 10 finish.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a pretty little late ride there. And this looks pretty much like his first run yesterday, but it's not that bad.
10th place on the split times at the moment.
He'll be very happy with this. So will the coaches.
Will.
Very
9th
happy.
place. Well, he finished 10th yesterday. If he can improve in his 2nd heat.
That's all he's looking to do. His race is against no one else but the American number 2 and 3 sleds.
Yep.
And that's all he cares about, is beating Nick Cunningham and Corey Butner. And with that type of run he just had there, boy, it's going to be pretty tough for both American sleds to overcome that. This is the mistake out of curve 1. Look at the back end sliding, skidding. I mean, to get 9th with that type of mistake, he could have been up in 6th. Look at the curve 9. This wasn't really perfect. Look at the sled. And the articulation on the sleds, that's where that front split is. That's what really maxed out in that little curve 9. Not a big curve by any standard, but it's big in the driver's eyes.
Now, he is the man who would go to Sochi if the Russians held on to that 3rd spot.
Yeah.
So important for him. Next up, Oskars Kybarmanis, and again we said the Latvians, Oskars Melbardis, Oskars Kybarmanis, had great starts yesterday. Fastest 2 sleds from the blocks, but just couldn't hold that speed down the track. Let's see what they can produce.
Well, Mark, we talked about the inexperience of both these drivers. For Latvia, Melbardis just crashed in his run down the track. But I'll ask you the question, how old is he?
Yeah, 22 years old.
Okay, well, he's been driving for a year and a half. He's an unbelievable athlete.
Yeah.
And the only way he's going to get replaced is another unbelievable athlete from Latvia to come and replace him. So the Latvians are going to they're insured to having great start times and great results the next decade because of studs like this that are in the front seat.
Well, you ask any coach, they will take a fast starter and turn them into a driver. You can't turn a driver into a fast starter.
You got that right, though. You can't buy those short fibers. You're born with them. But driving is you're born with a driving element, and then it's developed. And, you know, this is pretty good. This isn't bad at all.
Well, he's rattling around in 13th at the moment, 132.5, no better than Lyndon Rush of Canada.
He finishes ahead of his teammate.
Yeah,
but he's
second
only
day in a row.
But he's only 900ths out of 9th place. So 900 separates 5 sleds there, which is the norm on this track.
Kybarmanis was ahead of Melbardis by 100th after the 1st heat yesterday. Melbardis, with an extra year's driving experience, triumphed, but he's crashed down now.
Look at the Adidas spikes as they provide the grip across the ice to get these 4 guys propelling this human-powered rocket. And down here, it's, boy, your heartbeat is probably maxed out down there at 13 and 14. And it's the people who can take that heartbeat and slow it down are the ones that are the good drivers.
Well, he's a great starter. He will get better as a driver. Nick Cunningham of the USA in Night Train 1, Steve Holcomb's old ride. He's only had it in his hands for 1 race. Dallas Robinson, Johnny Quinn, and Abe Morlew. They're moving the athletes around in the sled. Dallas was on the back handles yesterday. He's at 2 today. They're looking for a better fit.
63.4, 5. Not bad. In fact, pretty good. Second guy did have some problems getting in the sled, but they still had decent velocity.
I think that's Dallas's first time on the number 2 handle.
Yeah, they're switching him around, trying to get comfortable. There's a drift. That's going to cost him. That's a little tap there. But he crashed in practice on Monday. It's only the 4th trip he's had in this sled, so he's got 7 total trips in this gold medal sled from the 2010 games, and he doesn't have a given down there in curve 9. That's a big skid there. Back end of that sled came way around in that curve in 8. Boy, but he had a nice line in 9 to 10.
133.8 in the 1st heat yesterday at the bottom, 132.5. He's just half a click away all the way down the track.
14th,
14th
lost a lot
place.
of time on the bottom, and he's another athlete struggling with a new steering. This is nothing like his BMW sled. And look at the brakes, they got problems here. Boy, they're yelling, they were yelling for the brakes.
Well, again, Abe Morlew, I'm not sure that he's been on the back handles before in this sled.
It's a different sled, got a different rear end to it than what they've been driving. And
brakes work different.
well, that's the sled that's gone the farthest. Now watch number 2. He's on top of the driver right there. He's over, and he's 6'5" guy, and he's letting the other guy get in, get down, and then he's got to come in. Hey, they did look at his hands come in. Listen,
Yesterday,
still not bad for the push bar still out. Watch this, brakes, please put the brakes on somebody.
Yesterday, Justin Olsen was at 2, Johnny Quinn at 3, D-Rob on the back. And you saw Justin at the top, he was helping out. Still a smile there from Johnny Quinn.
But Brian Scheimer doesn't like that time.
Well, do you remember?
The last of the top
They shot right
sleds.
up there on the first heat yesterday as well. I remember Johnny Quinn sliding down those railings.
Yeah, he's
Cunningham shakes his head.
1400ths off of Zakharov. He beat Zakharov at the start.
Cunningham 13th off the first heat yesterday, 14th off the first heat today. But they've got to finish, John. They have got to complete the course, get into the second heat, get points.
There's the standings. Cunningham not happy with that run. He had a real skid up there. But again, he's only got 7-8 trips in that sled. And, you know, this is an Olympic season, and he's got another 20 or 30 trips.
So different to the other sleds he's driven.
And the BMW's radical steering, and those sleds are flying, and they're doing good in those sleds. And USA has got a little bit of a...
It's mixing and matching. You've got to get your head around the very different way the sled responds from 2-man to 4-man, and Cunningham learning a brand new 4-man as well. Big crowd here in this start area. Going to be a lot of noise for 2 weeks from February into March next year for the World Championships.
Very educated crowd. And here's some future bobsled skeleton athletes, because there's a lot of bob and skeleton luge athletes that come from this region.
Yeah,
it's got a great tradition. There's that adventure park. Look at the crowd. I mean, there was a huge crowd here on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, for practice, and it was raining. Skeleton practice.
They're hardy. You've got to be a hardy fan to be a bobsleigh fan. And here, they know their sport.
They have great appreciation for every athlete, too, that comes here.
Simone Bertato of Italy, 16th of 24 sleds on the hill here at Winterberg. Round 5 of the Viessmann FIBT 4-man bobsleigh World Cup. Martin Haven, and alongside me, John Morgan.
Simone Bertato struggles with the start. Great driving abilities, as we know. He's won World Championship medals before in 2-man. Oh, and look at that mistake. When you have a slow start, look at that. That's the slowest velocity. And now he's destined to, he'll be lucky to beat Cunningham. 2200's down. Next clock, that'll be 30. Look at the helmets up, though. You can see that number 2 guy. Boy, look at the number 2 guy's really up high. His head going back and forth. That means they've built this is a stock sled for their crew. Crew has not been fitted in that sled. A couple of kilometers down. He goes to St. Moritz next week, where he's got some experience at winning medals. He won a World Championship medal there in 2-man in 2007.
That was ugly. 132.7 at the bottom. 14th in the first heat yesterday. 15th in the first heat today.
Yeah, if he didn't have that mistake up in between curve 0 and curve 1, he might have been able to get into the top 12. But when you have a bad start time and you have problems between curve 0 and curve 1, just chalk it up to a passenger ride down the track.
Well, these guys started 5:19, 5:18 yesterday, 5:22 today.
Watch the guy on the left here. Trying to get in, get down, and looks like he caught his shoes coming over the top, and he did not get a clean entry where he steps into the sled, and that caused a skid. And look at the skid here, going into 9. He's skidding across. Now he's got to drive in high, adjust, and then take a deep breath on the exit of that curve.
Bert Hefty of Switzerland won the 2-man race here on Friday. And in his four-man, he's got Alex Baumann, his two-man brakeman, Jörg Egger, and Thomas Amrein, new addition to the Swiss lineup.
Yeah, the winner of the two-man race, as you said, doesn't like the four-man, like he enjoys the two-man.
Good start, 5:09.
And he had a little issue in Lake Placid where no one knows how he got that swollen hand, but he didn't compete in the four-man, although he definitely was icing it downtown, as people would say. +5, it's not bad, but that skid in the Kreisel gonna cost his time dearly. And then in the exit, he wasn't that smooth, and he bumps there. 1.5 kilometers down on Max Arndt. This looks like a top 6, though. He keeps it together. Yeah, good chance.
Well, Hefty only 9th after the first heat, drove himself into 5th
Shades
position in the
now.
second, 9th in the first heat. Well, he's going to hope that history repeats and he can drive himself back up into a top 5 position.
He's
in
only
heat 2.
driving this four-man because they're telling him he has to. He doesn't enjoy the four like he does the two. Two, he just won here. He's probably going to win in Innsbruck. He's on his home track next week in St. Moritz. Look at the skid here. Look at the four-man climb the wall, way up high. Sled's got to come down. Look at it, way up high. That is it. That is just, it races so much speed. And then down here in 13, 14, this is where your eyes get big and your heartbeat a little faster. 83 miles an hour.
Yeah, two guys in the back seats there felt the negative G, didn't they, as they were free falling. The American athletes and fans down there in the bleachers watching Corey Butner of the USA, Adam Clark, Andy Dreibel, and Chris Langton. I have to say only good things about this sled. I jinxed them yesterday. Come on, Corey, you know it's in there.
Saw Andy Dreibel out last night. He said everybody's good. He was with two German athletes that are track and field athletes that he trains with over here for a few months. And they couldn't come to the race today because they were competing in a track and field event 300 kilometers away. But they said the spirits were good. 800's back. It's not too bad start time.
It's a great start, and this is a day for laying up, for being just on that edge of safety. But that's so hard for a pro athlete, John, to edge back from the edge of competition.
Yeah, and Butner medaled in four-man bobsled before, and of course did well in the two-man. He got a silver medal here in the two-man competition.
A little wild, but he survives corner 9. He'll make it down in one piece.
I don't know if this will be even good enough for a top 17.
Oscar Smelbardis, who crashed,
17.
is 18th place. Butner 17th place.
200s out of 16th.
Yep.
Not very good run, but he's down at the bottom. I would think he's going to get a second run.
You've got to think he's got a good chance. 17th place at the moment of the 18 sleds that have gone down. 4 won't get into the second heat. Sigh of relief from Corey Butner. Not as polished as he wants, but that's job done.
This is the guy who won a silver medal in two-man. This is an older Bodine sled. And he really, look at that dive there in 9, then back up on the outlet, and look at him down. He's got to come back up, and woo, he hit the wood.
Yeah.
And you know how much time there is there, and then this bang inside. It's not what you want to do with a four-man sled at 80 miles an hour, trust me.
Well, there he's just riding it and hoping that the exit's not too bad.
A lot of wows from the
a
U.S.
lot of
drivers,
wows.
huh?
Yeah, well, at least I didn't hex him into a roll. Next up then, 19th sled on the ice is Lamin Dean, the guardsman. Day job looking after the Queen, and for relaxation, hurtling down the ice with David Coleman joining Ben Simtek Simmons and Andy Matthews in the sled. So Dave Coleman in at 2.
Coleman came by for a headshot to the day with both a blue and a black suit. Look at them reset here. They reset.
Well, yesterday they were in blue, today in UK Sport black. John Baines was the man on the handle at 2 yesterday, and Dave Coleman has a little slip in his World Cup debut for the season. 5:22 getaway.
62 kilometer speed. Yeah, not bad though, 62.9. That's not the worst we've seen so far. Coleman's a teacher.
He's been part of the British setup and only an occasional World Cup racer. Ben Simmons and Andy Matthews, stalwarts in the Team Dean lean black fighting machine.
Coleman was a two-time Olympic trialist in discus, so another track and field background. So much track and field crossover here, Mike.
Is that, especially from discus, that explosive power that they need really has got to translate
That's
well here.
some rough ride, watch out.
Whoa, hold on, Lamin. 131.6, same kind of speed as we saw from Corey Butler's wild ride down the bottom and a 56 flat time. That might be enough to keep him in the second heat.
Playing the James Bond music in the background for the British sled. They do so many things here, right, at this little resort in Winterberg, Germany for the sport.
Well, it is particularly apposite for a man whose day job is to look after the Queen.
Well, he needed to look after him and his crew right here because these were very volatile lines. People leaning out of the sled there. I keep talking about how violent it is. This is 80 miles an hour, 130 clicks. I'd like to know how much energy is going into that wall.
Quarter of a second slower run than their first yesterday. That was a 55.76. That was a 56 run. And there is the spiked holes on driver Loic Kosterg that were added by Roman Heinrich to his suits during the two-man race on Friday. Florent Ribet and Elie Lefort joined him in the four-man. They had a good run yesterday, John. This young French guy producing some nice driving.
Bruno Majon equipment. Bruno Majon, oh, there's a skid, not bad. Speed should be 63 kilometers. Speed, no. So now he's relegated to 15th or back unless he can do what the Belgian women did this morning, which was unbelievable, that they have the 19th best start with the best speed in the finish in both runs and finished in 6th.
Well, Loic yesterday, 22nd in the first heat, didn't get a second run. He's pretty much level with Lamin Dean at the moment on time and on speed. A little slower than the last sled down, GB2. Oh, and again, a little rattle.
Yeah, the sled's a little loose. It's almost slow going through that graveyard section 9 to 10. Violence, whoa. Second, 130 kilometers. The shades are down on that curve. Shades are never down because there's never sun. But into the sunlight, into the finish, coaches look on 19th. They know it's going to be struggling to make. Well, he's got a chance.
I'm not sure he's going to get in. He's ahead of Oskars Melbardis, who is the man on the bubble after the crash. Loic Kosterg, 22nd yesterday off a 55.9 slide.
Yeah,
he's just come down 56.2.
Got a small chance.
Now, that is not something you want to be doing with 675 kilos coming at you at 75 miles an hour. If there are some foolish things to do at a sporting arena, that is one of the most dumb I've ever seen.
Well, we saw somebody on the first day, one of the push bars came by and hit a camera phone.
Yeah. He was lucky it didn't hit him
Yeah,
hard.
it
It
just
could have
spun him
broken his
around.
wrist.
But there's our standings.
Germany 1, 2, and 4. Alexander Zubkov again trying to prevent a German sweep at a podium. Loic Kosterg and the French team hoping to make race 2. And Jan Verber of the Czech Republic, the first of 4 sleds that start outside the top 20 and are fighting for a place in the second heat. He got one yesterday, ended up 18th overall.
Ooh, look at that number 2 guy's head wobbling around already. 62.8, not the magic number that you all try and post. 63 kilometers. Now he has to have perfect lines. Okay, you want to see perfect? Is he in the middle here? Very good. Next line. Not bad. Looked like the back end had a little skid. Now, does he hit? No, into Kreisel. Which side of the straightaway does he come down? Flops and crosses over and hits that wall, then hits there in 9. And can he get through the graveyard here? Yes. This looks like a top 20 run.
18th place at the moment for the 31-year-old sports instructor. Good speed at the bottom as well, 2 kilometers an hour quicker than the French. So he's going to ease in front of them. And Oscar Melbardis.
He tied with Bertazzo.
Yeah, he's in front of Corey Butler of the USA as well. He's 16th. He will make the second heat. And Oscar Melbardis, who crashed, first man to crash with the fastest start. Second sled on the ice, he will not get a second run. Well, Jan Verber, the Czech Republic, a 15 to 20 man, and he's in the second heat again, guaranteed.
Wild Thing is right. That's that curve 9. They're playing that music in the background. They could put Wild Thing right on that curve because it's provided some wild moments for us to watch.
Yes, it has. That's the real crowd favorite at the moment. Gregor Baumann of Switzerland. No racing at all last year. He was out the whole season with injury. The year before, though, 7th in the 2-man, 4th in the 2-man, 7th in the 4-man in the World Cup standings. So he's just trying to recover that form that he had 2 or 3 seasons running.
Couple crashes in North America.
Still just 30 years old. Time to get himself fit and get his eye back in.
Get in, down, quick, good efficiency by this Swiss team. His 22nd best start, though. Wow, 63-kilometer speed is not bad with that start. I mean, I can't believe he's had the 22nd best start.
That's that injury still haunting him a little bit. He's a big guy as well, 6'4", 225 pounds. He's the biggest in the crew by a margin.
Still something wrong with that start, though.
Yeah.
They should have been 16 or something, but to have the worst start of the field, a Swiss team?
They had good momentum, though, 63.1 kilometers an hour, 94.5 is good pace there, too.
This is decent, considering that start. Those are good lines. He holds this together. He is in the field, even with that deficient start time. Yeah, he's going to be in there.
133 is good speed.
Decent.
That Sissia sled is aerodynamically efficient, 55.83. He may not be able to run quite as well as he did, but certainly he can drive like he used to. Well, the only time he was in a bobsleigh last year was at the World Champs in St. Moritz. He's got a 4-man with an engine. Still drive it using the D-rings, but it's got an engine at the back instead of gravity to power it. Drives it on the road.
Yeah, he's carving some good lines here. Here's down to 13. Look at the back end. And oh, the push bar came out a little bit. That's, again, the violent G-force that they get here. Look at the push bars come out. He didn't hit there too hard. That was a pretty good line through there. But of course, the smoothest line isn't always the fastest line.
Yeah, often it's because you've been steering too much. Nicolae Strate of Romania, 23rd of our 24 sleds. No Polish sled today. They competed yesterday. Strate got didn't get a second heat. 21st in the first run yesterday. Change of brakemen away on this sled as well. Done at Stanko in at 2. Emil Peptia at 3, joining Florent Cratuen at 4.
Lamont Dean is on the bubble for the GBR. It's an old Dresden sled. I would say that this is probably the oldest sled in the field.
Well loved as well used, though. Look at it, it's well presented as always, yeah.
Nobody works with less, gets more out of it than the Romanians do. This Romanian pilot had a 10th place finish or 9th place finish at the World Championships in Koenigsegg in 2011. I think he had a little runner-borrow thing going on from the Germans, but he delivered the goods for Romania.
Hey, Lend-Lease works for everybody sometimes. 100.3 kilometers an hour is not enough to lift him out of the doldrums. 23rd at the start, 22nd at the moment.
Looks like this is going to be good for Lamont Dean. It's close.
Decent speed, though, as quick as the British sled, but the gap is too big.
112, 14 hundredths of a second away from Dean. He beat Dean at the start by 3.
Well, Lamin Dean yesterday, I seem to recall, 20th after the first heat, spent 6 or 7 sleds trying to wait and see whether he was going to get in. 5 sleds, in fact, today. He's only got a 4 sled weight.
Curve 9. This is the graveyard of time on this track. Sneaks through there with a little skid there. Just got tapped in that front left bunk.
Just dragged the back bunk off the wall and that kicked it sideways.
That could have been the 1400s he needed to
Could have been easily.
bump Dean.
Well, with no Polish crew, as there was yesterday, our 24th and last team now is yesterday's first-timers. Patrick Baumgartner, Constantino Ugi, one of the more experienced brakemen, with Alessandro Grande and William Frullani. First time in a few years we've had a second Italian sled since the retirement of Fabrizio Tassini.
And this is a young driver here. Now they're just been put together. It's like an all-star team, so let's watch them get in. How much efficiency do they have? Get in, get down? Not bad.
Well, the brakemen are older and more experienced than the driver, definitely. From the Sud-Tirol region in the north of Italy, that's their huge fruit-growing region.
Italians, one of those powers in the sport of bobsledding. 50s, 60s, 70s. 98 was their last Olympic gold medal. Ooh, that was a rough exit there. Curve 6. Gold medal at the 98 games, gold medal in the 68 games. It's been on hard times since. It's pretty smooth. Not gonna make the cut.
No, but he's got good style, good lines, and with a bit more experience, he can hang it out a little looser and a bit more speed at the start.
He did not beat Melbardis.
No, but then Melbardis had a quarter of a second on him at the start alone.
Yeah.
And crashed late, going a lot quicker than the Italians were going, so...
But it's Baumgartner's World Cup debut in four-man. He made it down. Congratulations. Pretty good form there by this young Italian team. And a little high there on that curve. Came around, and this is where it's quick.
Well, there is the young Italian, still a teenager, Patrick Baumgartner. That is the future of Italian bobsledding. They've got more teams now, but unfortunately in Italy, no current tracks on which to race. Cortina out of action for 5 years, and Cesana closed at the moment. We have a German 1-2-4 at the top of our leaderboard. Alexander Zubkov currently preventing a clean sweep, as he did yesterday. Top 3 positions are as they were yesterday. Zubkov third, Friedrich second, and Viessmann, Max Arndt, is our race leader. Fast 20 go through, and again, Lamindine in 20th place will be the first man on the ice in Heat 2. Stay with us, that heat is coming up fairly shortly. We'll be back live at 1400 Central European Time, 1300 Greenwich Mean Time. Translate that wherever across the globe you are watching us. 300ths of a second for victory, and there's a good battle on for the podium as well. For the US sleds, vital for all of them to get down and get down safe. They're halfway to doing that and scoring points to try and take that third sled spot away from the Russians, but that might have to wait for another race or two. That's it then from Heat 1, Race 5 of the Viessmann FIBT 4-man Bobsleigh World Cup. Join John Morgan and me, Martin Haven, for the deciding run here from Winterberg in just under half an hour's time.